Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tree Chucklers podcast. This is podcast number 15.
What?
It is Friday, April
13th.
13th.
Ooh.
So you could say it's Friday the 13th. Talk about spooky.
Oh, what if we timed episode 13 with this episode? Oh, man, that would have been good.
That would have been good, but I don't think Ethan would have been on that one.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're just going to redo this entire season. We're going to try this again next time.
We're just going to pretend. Yeah, we're just going to pretend that 2 episodes didn't happen. We'll delete them and let's pretend it's just episode 13 today.
Mm-hmm.
With us, we have Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
Jesus. He's not going to like that one.
Yep. It's totally fine.
Oh, boy.
He doesn't sound like
That's
that.
all right. But yeah, it's been a week, Paul.
It's been a week. Yeah.
It's been about a week.
About
a week ago.
A week ago. Yeah.
Oh man, speaking of, how many days until Bobby Shmurda gets out?
13.
Whoa, really?
No.
There's something about Friday the 13th. The 13th.
13.
Oh my god.
Words, man.
The 13th.
What?
The
Oh,
turnt-
wait. All right, club goes up on a Tuesday, right? Thursdays to Friday the 13th. There you go.
I guess, but
Yeah,
that's a stretch.
it is sort of.
It was an accident on my part.
Hey.
But hey, you know what? Not a lot actually has happened that week. Like I was telling you, I applied to another, hopefully position that I can gain within the architecture landscape here in Illinois.
Architecture landscape. Ha ha.
Oh, yeah, kinda. I mean, there are landscape architects, so that's one thing.
Are you gonna focus on a certain type of architecture, or are you just like
Yeah, like
whatever,
the good kind.
the good kind? I mean,
Yeah,
is it more?
yeah,
Is it something that you like kind of decide in school, or just like wherever the career takes you?
School. So I guess we could talk about architecture school a bit. In terms of architecture school undergrad, it's pretty much every school, not all schools, but pretty much every school is going to be theory based. So it's not a lot of concrete, not a lot of structural until obviously like the last year or two.
Yeah.
I have yet to learn how wood works when building a house, or can you produce this angle ever, kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like, there's civil engineers for that.
The tangibles,
The tangibles,
not the intangibles, the tangibles,
the technicals.
Yes, exactly. I haven't learned that yet. But when it comes to like deciding what you want, it's not really like something you decide. It's whatever firm you choose to work for and whatever one you get into is kind of what you do.
Okay.
So in the city, there's a lot of multi-level apartments, or you can do like hospitals, like wellness. You can do corporate, and the thing is, a lot of the firms, a lot of the big ones, they tend to actually mix all those in what they do. Because if you just stick to 1 or 2 industries, you have a solid chance of just losing your whole business by not expanding your range, right? It's just like the idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket when it comes to investing. Is that same principle? It's, hey, if one industry suddenly is going down, we have these other industries that are still booming, or they still need architects to design. So
Yeah.
that's one of the strategies. If you're like, I'm really into homes. I eventually want to just stick to single family units. Hopefully, honestly, ones with a solid budget, so that it's not like you need to go overboard with the design, but creating some pretty beautiful homes, and not having too much of a limitation when it comes to materials, or at least the ability to craft just a really well-rounded home that really invites this emotional response and this physical response whenever you walk into it and around it.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
Like to get into like house architecture, you really want to stick to like the suburbs. Like the firms here in town, they're mostly single homes, but there's some that specify they're either going to do like 3 or 4 different plans and multiply them and create a neighborhood, or some stick to the people that have the good money and they're able to be I guess less limiting when it comes to design, and they kind of know what they want, and they want these nice beautiful homes with stone and granite and all that stuff. So it really depends on what you. So it all depends on who you work for. When it comes to school, not so much. School, it's theory. It's things that I can't say like don't translate, because obviously they do, but you don't pick something and you don't specialize. That might not be true for all schools, but from a lot of schools that I've seen, at least in Chicago, it's not the case.
Interesting. A little bit of insight into the world of architecture education. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the only choice that we really have is fourth year, where you have 4 or 5 instructors depending on how many students.
Yeah.
And then they present what they're gonna work on for the year. So like what you can, and then you get to choose roughly. You pick your first, your most.
Oh, and then like whatever they're gonna work on, like that's kind of
exactly
okay.
Yeah. So it's like yeah, they have a curriculum, and if you want to join that curriculum, you can go into that kind of thing. No.
No, I mean like it's obviously we're studying 2 incredibly different things, so it's interesting to see like the contrast in like education philosophies.
Yeah, like one instructor could be more focused on like urban planning of like a big city, or one could be more about one could be really theoretical, and you're like expanding on ideas of ideas. It's whatever the instructor's really into and what they want to do. So that's really where you get a little bit more choice, but it's still at the end of the day, it's not a specialization.
Yeah. Oh man, I should have brought this up before the podcast, but I was recently talking to this person. She's a so how do I best describe what she does? She's basically a doctor in engineering education, right? So like
Really?
she's a professional, right? And so like she just studies like how do you like best teach people very technical subjects, right? So it's a lot of statistics and stuff like that. One thing that she mentioned to me was like there's a framework for how you can look at, there's a framework for looking at the way that people decide their career path. I forgot what the name of it was, but it was basically like it all kind of starts with a feedback system between your interests and like the opportunity that you have. And so like both of those lead into like your perceived opportunities or like your desires and stuff like that. And so the thing that you said about like professors, it's like that's an opportunity, right?
Yes.
To realize like one of your desires, right? You also have interests, and so but like those 2 things like influence each other. It's like, oh, I'm interested in this because or I see those opportunities because I'm interested in this, or I'm interested because I had the opportunity. So
I gotcha.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to add to that. I think that was a pretty solid point. Like there's no gaps in it.
Yeah, it's just pretty interesting. I recommend anyone listening to just look up. I don't even know what Google search I can give you. Just look up into like frameworks for how people, or like the reasons why people choose career choices, like all the inputs and outputs to them.
I guess it wouldn't be limited to just career choices. I mean, I think that's just life in general. You have certain opportunities, and you have certain interests, and sometimes they come together, and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, that's when it gets interesting.
Yeah, you can like expand that like framework to encompass like all life decisions or all major life decisions. It was just that this specific research paper was just looking at career choices.
Yeah.
Because like the career that you choose to make like impacts so much in your life, Well,
yeah, I mean it's a majority of what you do, and it's a work that you might not necessarily enjoy every day, but you're gonna hopefully enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that brings up a good point. Is how about the moments where your interests and the opportunity don't align.
Interest and opportunity don't align. Oh well.
Let's say, an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're a tree hugger and
Tree
you
hugger.
want to save the Amazon rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to become a lawyer
Yeah.
to, sue the hell out of companies that are, cutting down trees.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you can't find any work that doesn't involve being a lawyer for these companies. You
Mm.
have a vast opportunity to be a lawyer for the companies that are tearing down the rainforest versus not. Do you choose that? And if so, how do you justify
Yeah.
going against that? It's a cognitive dissonance in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I just found the okay, if you want to look this up, it's social cognitive career theory. And yes, there's a awesome actually found the little um diagram that they use. All right. This is an excellent thing for all our audio listeners, which is actually everyone. Let me try to
Which is everyone.
yeah, it's everyone.
Which one is it? Is it the one with like the light blue and then a yellow and then a blue and then
It's
like a
I don't even know
salmon?
how to describe it. Describe the picture. It's just a diagram.
I guess they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
But okay, so I got this slightly wrong. So the first thing that or like the first like kind of part of it is personal inputs. So kind of just who you are as like a physical person and like what your kind of personality is like, right?
Yeah,
So that has a feedback system with your background and like your kind of like your the society, the opportunities provided to you by society, right? So like the first two inputs are just like how are you born and like where are you right now. So both of those things go into learning experiences, and try to remember how she explained it, but learning experiences are basically like how you I think like how you determine like oh yeah, it's just straight up learning experiences. So like the skills that you earn and stuff like that. So based off of your experience learning new things, your self-efficacy and your outcome expectations are going to change. Self-efficacy just refers to your confidence in like comprehension and stuff like that. How how are good are your abilities to actually like pursue knowledge and stuff like that. Then outcome expectations, it's like, all right, you know all this stuff. How well do you think you would be able to apply it in real life? Then those go into interests, choice goals, choice actions, and then performance attainments. So interest is just so from self-efficacy and outcome expectations, it'll influence the stuff that you actually want. So your interests, your choice goals. So how are you going to pursue those wants? Your choice actions, what are the things that you do to pursue those goals, and then performance attainments, how like successful are you. So that's the framework for basically like how people make career choices. It all stems from your background and how or your experiences and like the first steps in obtaining your career. So yeah,
Okay.
it's interesting. Let me bring up a.
I feel like these are all like, I don't want to say common sense, but like you could probably figure it out. But the fact that they were actually able to put this down and figure out the actual pattern is probably what makes it prolific.
Yeah, I mean like a lot of things seem like common sense, but like actually being able to back it up with, like experimental or statistical analysis, it's like, oh well, now we know about it, like legit, you know. That's the
I
basis of
gotcha.
science. Not like a lot of science isn't just like figuring out new stuff. It's just making sure that the things that we assume to be true are like actually like legit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And you know what? Speaking of things that are legit, we'd like to thank our sponsor today.
Please clap.
We appreciate you.
As always. Cool. Anyway, So you wanted to talk
Anyway,
about finances.
yeah. I mean, I like talking about finances in the sense that I like learning about ways to either make money, save money, or I guess keep. No, yeah. I guess there's only two things you can
Make
really
money or
do.
save
I
money. You
guess.
could spend it.
I mean, make money, save money, spend. Okay, spend it.
Yeah.
What are the five ways you could do with money? Save it, spend it, invest it. Uh,
Give
I
it
don't
to
know what the other
charity,
ones
I
are.
think.
Huh?
I
What?
think one of them was like give it to charity.
Oh yeah, give to charity. Oh, it was four, and then
Oh yeah.
Hannibal was like, but I
Or
wanted to tell him you could gamble that shit
you can
too.
also gamble that shit.
To a little kid.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Jesus. No, not
I mean,
great.
so are you gonna talk about gambling or are you gonna talk about investing?
I mean, so a lot of people I talk to seem to be afraid about investing. Just in the sense that every time I talk about it, like, oh, I don't want to gamble my money. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
That's like the opposite of it.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Like, how is gambling and investing exactly the same thing in your mind?
They're
You
both
know?
like you're both taking in both of them you're taking risks. But one of them
Yeah.
is a calculated risk. The other one, unless you're like counting cards and stuff like that,
Both have risk,
is
but
pretty like up to chance.
both have risks. But if that could maybe it's a bad analogy. I'm gonna give it a shot. But that could be like saying, there's risk in riding a bike and there's risk in driving a car.
It's like yes,
But they're
but
not the same thing.
yeah,
They're two different. They're two different activities.
it's like
Is what I'm saying.
where's the burden of risk? Is that a thing? Basically,
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess.
I don't know. Explain it.
There's a difference in the type of risk that you have, and there's a difference in control, really. With gambling, it's full risk, and I mean, I guess technically you have control, but the chances are so low.
Yeah, like you
That
don't get
that you're gonna
to
do anything.
choose where you place your risk. It's just unless you count like choosing the game, but like the game
There,
plays.
there's a minute amount of choice that you have, and a relatively it's a low yield, high risk reward, or high risk, high yield, I guess. Where investment is roughly the opposite, depending on what you go. If you're going to speculate, I would call that speculation. I wouldn't call that investing. And a lot of people seem to conflate speculation with investing, which I, like I said, it's two different things. If you're speculating, it's hey, I'm going to throw, I don't know, $5,000 into this stock that's supposed to blow up, this IPO, and then it flops because IPOs tend to flop. That's gambling in a sense. You're just like, all right, well, there's no statistical chance that this is probably going to work, but if it does work for some reason, I'm going to make a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah, so it's
That's speculation.
investing is all
Or,
about informed decisions.
day traders. Day traders are more or less in the speculation range. I mean, I guess you could make an argument for, well, if you really know what you're doing, you could kind of make some money. I'm like, yeah, sure, but
That's
good
like
luck.
with
You're gonna
anything,
have days that you
so.
lose. Exactly. But no, I mean, investing. It's I read the phenomenal book, Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. I'm pretty sure we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see the full connection between gambling and investment. I see why people think that, but it's that gap in knowledge in a sense, that the fact that just because people tell you it's gambling, most of them most likely don't invest and don't really know what it's all about, right? There are plenty of ways to lower your risk and earn a decent amount. Obviously, the more risk you take, the more likely you have it, the higher shot you have of producing more, of getting more in returns. But it's not gambling. There's no way. There's nothing that rigs it. The market is the market. Nobody can predict the market. Obviously, you can roughly predict certain games in gambling.
Yeah.
And typically, it's rigged towards the house. Not rigged, but the house has the advantage.
Yeah. Like
Whereas I guess the market has the advantage, but the market isn't anybody, so nobody has an advantage. Unless you do insider trading, but that's illegal.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about insider trading on this podcast.
Exactly.
That's a different one.
It's so a lot of people actually bring that up. It's like, well, I'm sure there are tons of people that like get their info, and like they know something before something's about to happen. And so that's how they make money. They either, go all in, or when they find something's bad, they go all out. It's like, no, that's actually really unlikely, because if someone were to actually find information about something, that the price of that stock, it pretty much just encapsulates all that already. It already takes that into account. It's very hard to predict to be ahead of the market, like insanely difficult. All risks and like all possible information is already taken into account with that price that it has. Obviously, you can tell when some things are inflated when you're in a bubble, but people know that, and I guess that's an interesting one. I guess I haven't really looked too much into why bubbles happen, besides the fact that people are just, they're emotionally driven.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh wow, look at this thing going up, I'm gonna buy it. It's like, yeah, that doesn't always make sense.
Are bubbles like sort of like hype trains that kind of like...
Oh, super hype trains.
Yeah. I think like, so I'm not financially literate that much. It sort of seems that bubbles are basically like hype trains that like not enough or like way too many people are on it when the bubble pops or when a train derails.
I would argue that it is an emotionally driven surge of pricing, where the price does not justify the sudden, whatever the company's doing. So, I don't know if Tesla, if Tesla came out with their new fastest car ever, and it's the most efficient and whatnot, and the price suddenly rose $2,000.
Oh, like yeah,
500 to 1,000%. In that moment, I would be like, wow, this is gonna go really bad very quickly, because there's no way that a product like that, or whatever the company is doing, justifies something that huge. It's roughly easy to tell. A lot of experts, people that actually know the things. I'm just someone who just dabbles in it and reads about it. They'll roughly be able to say, oh yeah, we're most likely in a bubble because of these statistics and these algorithms that we run. It's pretty interesting. I'm still learning about it, but there is an algorithm called the what's that that sequence of numbering where it's 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 1 is 3. Yeah, the Fibonacci. That's it. That I don't know if that's an algorithm. I don't know what
it's
the
just a sequence,
is, but they use it. Yeah, they use that for some analyzing of trends. It was super interesting. There's a guy here. Let me find his YouTube channel.
I think so. The Fibonacci sequence. Okay, so this is gonna go into a little bit more hokey pokey math than I usually dabble into, but a lot of people attribute the Fibonacci sequence to they basically like plaster onto a lot of natural frequencies, not like, or like, oh, if you count the number of seeds in a certain, or yeah, if you count like the radii of like a snail shell, right, it'll follow the Fibonacci sequence. The petals on a flower, Fibonacci sequence, stuff like that. So I could kind of see how a person could think like, oh, economics is basically like the natural kind of like extension of human choice. Slap some Fibonacci sequence on there, see what happens, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This guy, for the most part, he's been able to, and it's, once again, it's not predicting. It's more so just, all right, here are like two things that could happen, and it's honestly kind of like fortune tellers when they're like, oh yeah, you can either do really well in life or do really poorly in life. It's like that, except there's some numbers to kind of be like, okay, it could rise about this much or it could drop about this much. So it's kind of giving you a range, not like exaggerated where it's totally unbelievable.
It sounds just like mathematical modeling, which makes sense. It's like, it's going to give you a range because you made some assumptions,
Exactly. But I guess that's not only what I want to talk about. So there's this new app, I guess, that I found out about. It's called Personal Capital.
Personal Capital.
You can go to personalcapital.com, or you can download it on your phone.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them. I wish we were. That'd be great.
That'd be dope.
I'm not sure what I'd do with it, but in terms of the sponsorship.
But. It'd be so awkward. Like, you'd be the only one able to talk.
But it's really cool because it keeps track of your net worth. So we had talked
net
about
worth. Damn.
So we had talked about how there's certain info that you might want to not share. With this one
before
I kind of do.
Yeah.
So with this, what you can do is you can log in, and you can. I'd argue it's pretty safe to do. All they really see is just numbers. So you like put in your different accounts that you have, whether it's investment accounts or bank accounts, and it keeps track of the money that you have, or the debts that you have, the assets and the liabilities. Keeps track of your stocks and how they're doing, which I think is great. I'm not one like I'm with the Benjamin Graham book. What he says is, look, don't even worry about how your investments are doing. Just buy them and then don't look at them. Don't care about it. Like just spend $1,000 every January and just don't care about where the stock price goes, because it's unlikely that you're really going to lose money after 10, 20 years, as long as you're sticking to it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I spend, or I buy stocks every month, so I like to know like how much I need to save up for next month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I look at it. I don't look at it in terms of like, oh, I'm losing money. It's just, oh, how much do I need to save up roughly to buy this amount of stock? So that's why I like looking at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
With this app, it just makes it easy to see that. It's useful. I'd say it's pretty useful if you're into stuff like that. I guess not everybody is.
Yeah. Do you want to dive a little bit into the data privacy topic?
Data privacy topic.
It's sort of timely. It would.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
give it a go. Give it a go.
I mean, like I am a huge advocate for data privacy and stuff like that. But I'm also an advocate for the free flow of information, and some people think that that's like contradictory. But for a little bit of context, in case you're somehow or some like for some reason you're listening to this podcast in like months ahead in the future. So recently there was a Facebook, or came out that Facebook has been selling people, like a whole bunch of people's information, like millions and millions of people's information to third parties, like notably like Cambridge Analytica, and a whole bunch of apps. And so like people are just kind of worried about like, they basically put their entire lives on Facebook, and now there are some unknown actors that have all that information, along with this. I think like everyone knows by now that like Google tracks whatever you do in your browser, right?
Yeah.
If you have a Google account, if you visit sites that are serviced by Google's AdSense, if you use the Chrome browser, you are being tracked by Google. That's just a thing that you have to know by now. And so basically there's a whole market for people's information, and some people are kind of like just finding out like how much information about them is actually being tracked. It's not just like, oh, you like put in your account information and now like they know like your date of birth, your full name, your email address. Like it's beyond that. It's more like, oh, we see that you visited these 4 sites within 6 hours of each other, and you clicked through this path. That means you probably are interested in A, B, and C, so we're going to service ads towards you like for those services. It gets really specific, and that's all based off of like psychological profiles that they create, like based off of demographic choices and stuff like that. And so, Omar, you just recently moved your web browsing to DuckDuckGo, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So explain what DuckDuckGo is to people.
DuckDuckGo is an extension on Chrome, and if you want to use it on your phone, it's an actual web browser where they use certain encryptions and stop trackers from tracking you. And they actually let you know like which websites are trustworthy, which ones aren't. They give a grading to every single website that you go. So like for example, let's say I type in facebook.com and then I click on, and it actually shows you. So they have on DuckDuckGo's app, they have a D rating.
Yeah.
Right? D privacy rating. And then they tell you why. So you click on it and it says, Facebook.com, privacy practices indicate how much the personal information that you share with a website is protected. And here are the two markers. They track you on other websites, and your data is used for many purposes. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's so many trackers, I don't even want to list how many there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So trackers, the thing that you need to know about trackers is that the information that a website gets on you doesn't end when you move off of that website. So as Omar just explained, if you go on Facebook, like the next couple, 10, 100 clicks that you do, even if some of them are off of Facebook, they might but within the browser, Facebook will be made aware of that.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
You had Amazon open it in another tab. Then it's like, all right, so we see that you were browsing for kitty litter. Then on Facebook, we're gonna give you ads on kitty litter.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes the algorithm's so standard that if you just bought something, it'll show you that exact product and say, hey, you should buy this, and be like, I just bought it, you dipshit.
It was kind of creepy because so I think like this is actually a really neat implementation of trackers, but I can see how it'd be creepy. When I do homework, I have a lot of tabs open, right? And so if your website uses if a website uses trackers, it can see like some things on, or like some tags and keywords on the other websites, right? And so for example, I had YouTube open in one tab and Amazon open in another tab, just like browsing.
Both who track.
Yeah, they use trackers. Like send it out to parties. They send it to each other, stuff like that. On YouTube, I was watching a video, just like a general. It was just a video on mechanical pencils. I wanted to buy a new like fancy mechanical pencil because I lost mine. So I was like just looking at reviews. Before then, I did not even touch Amazon. Like I bought like a mechanical pencil, like a nice one once, but that was like 2 years ago, right? So no mechanical pencil relevant stuff on Amazon for the past 2 years. When I went to the Amazon tab and typed the letter M, the first thing that came up was mechanical pencil. So it's like websites know what you're doing in the same session. Like you should assume that. And that's not a bad thing most of the time, or some of the time, like in that case where it's like, oh yeah, I was gonna type in mechanical pencil anyway. Thanks. But when it gets creepy when websites don't make it clear that they're doing that, like in the case of Facebook.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of politics that go into certain of that stuff too. Now that they're being questioned in the House.
Yeah. Europe.
There's a lot of interesting things with Facebook.
Oh yeah, like I only still have a Facebook because Facebook logins, right? Some places don't accept Google Secure login, so I have to use my Facebook account to log in too, and that's just convenient because you're, instead of relying on that website's login security, you're relying on Facebook's, and Facebook's is still a lot more secure than most websites. So that's one benefit of having a Facebook account. Also, when you meet someone or when you're made aware of someone for the first time, what's one of the first things you do? You Google them or you look them up on Facebook. Just so then you kind of like kind of know what they look like. It's like, oh, it's that person. Okay.
Yeah.
And also like
Um,
Facebook events. For some reason, like around here, everyone puts their events on Facebook. It's like, oh, I invited you to the party. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, it's on Facebook.
the only reason I have a Facebook is for college stuff, and I've put 2 pictures up, and I refuse to put anything else up. I don't care
Hmm.
about my profile. It has virtually nothing on it. Everything that's on it is not for me.
Yeah. Uh,
Other than my profile pic.
that leads me
I
to
don't do anything on it.
Yeah, that leads me to a good point. So some people think that like, oh, I'm not gonna put like, or yeah, I'm not gonna put anything like online, and that'll protect me, right? Well,
No, it's not. No, it doesn't.
yeah. So it's a lot better to specifically curate what your online profile looks like instead of just letting everything like up to chance. Like for example, with Facebook, it's a lot better that you like kind of you made a Facebook profile, right? You just put some generic stuff on there, like, and people like can find you based off of it, right? If their connection like circle is small enough,
Yeah.
but that's a lot better than if someone for some reason was like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck with Omar Garcia's life. I'm gonna squat on his Facebook profile, and so they like steal pictures from wherever, and they basically just take over, your digital life. So, from that, 2 lessons: curate very carefully what you do online, and also, no information is not the same or the lack of control is not the same as the lack of danger, if that makes sense. Just because you're not putting yourself in the line of fire. Okay, logically that doesn't make sense, but I hope I explained it previously like good enough.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if you have a Facebook profile and you just put either like incorrect information or just inaccurate, vague information, it's better than just having a few things that are correct, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Basically, curate your online presence.
How you want to be tracked.
Yeah. If you don't curate it, someone else will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
DuckDuckGo, that's one way you can do it. There's a couple other browser extensions. Mozilla Firefox is actually like a really good way to do or to practice like good browsing habits, because so Chrome is like by far one of the more popular web browsers. Yeah, in the world, just because Google.
Did you just hear about? I just heard about this, that Chrome actually scans your files on your computer.
I can see that. I mean, like my Chrome is connected, or I have a Google Drive account or Google Drive folders on my computer. Like I'm gonna be a real big hypocrite, like right now, especially with this. I trust my life with Google. There is so much tied to my Google account in terms of like files and information. I don't have like financial information on Google, but it's just like I log into Google I log into so many websites with Google. Google has a whole bunch of my files on a drive. It's and like I have an Android phone, so if I lost my phone, I'd have to go through Google to figure that shit out. So
yeah, I see what you're saying.
But with that being said, just because Google does it doesn't mean it's good.
Well, yeah, and like we were talking about, it's really just about like if you want to start controlling what information gets thrown around about you, using like a different type of browser, and
yeah, that's like step one.
Blocking trackers, those are a few good ways. You're not going to be able to control everything because it's just not possible, especially if you've already been a moron. That I'm just talking about myself. I had a Facebook since like 7th grade, and then I finally deleted it my sophomore year, and I was like, yes, I'm done with it forever. But then college, and I was like, fine, just during college, and then I refuse to have a Facebook once I'm out of college. I don't care. I'm not gonna have one.
I mean,
In
lots
two
of people
years,
don't.
I will delete it.
Going back to ways you can kind of improve your information literacy. Yeah, we're gonna call it that. Mozilla, they have extensions that will tell you like, oh, this website is tracking you, or extensions that prevent things from tracking
Chrome
you.
has that too.
Yeah,
Chrome has that as well.
but like Chrome is Google.
Chrome is its own tracker.
Yeah, like it will track you. That's like a given, unless you tell it not to. And then there's like
it'll still track you.
then there's like simple things like turn like in a lot of apps and if you have an Android phone you can do this too. Like in your phone settings, just turn off tracking, you know?
Yeah, I don't keep my GPS on. I mean, not only is it a great way to not share exactly where you are, but it's also a battery saver. That's why I did it. And then
Yeah.
I realized that, a lot of apps want to see where you are, so that's creepy.
In Google, like in your Google account settings, you can set like do not track, and Chrome will not allow websites to not track you. And then same thing with like I'm gonna sneeze. Oh god.
You're gonna sneeze?
Oh man,
Is that where you go? Is that
side note, it absolutely sucks to think you're gonna sneeze,
And then
get
you
just to
don't.
the point, yeah, and no follow through. But anyway, yeah. So good browsing habits, and just being aware of like what you post online. Like that post that you made in like freshman year of high school, about like it's like, oh man, like like your high school opinions and stuff like that. You
High school
go back and look at it. If you think it would like badly impact like any like job, potential jobs you could have, any potential relationships that you could have, hide it.
I mean,
just like
I don't. Yeah.
Just-
I don't recommend having a Facebook. I recommend everybody just deletes theirs.
I mean, like this
It's,
is a
horrible.
general like whatever you post on the internet. I mean, even this, right? I'm pretty aware of like the stuff that I say on this podcast because
Yeah.
I know that like if someone Googled my name, it's like, yeah, this podcast is gonna come up. Now, for
Yes.
you, the listeners, this is pretty unfiltered, for like both.
I mean, we don't. We are who we are. I'm not afraid to show who I am.
Yeah. So that's why we don't like mention companies when we have guests on, or we try to. I mean, I try to.
Well, there
and
are
we-
just some certain legalities.
Yeah, we don't say like full names and like very identifiable information, just because what you say, what goes on the internet stays on the internet. You can hide it, but there's ways to find out or find it again.
Exactly.
So
It is what it is at the end of the day. I mean,
Yep.
I know as a kid I'm sure I did stupid things, but now it's just, well, I know exactly what's bad and what's good, and people are gonna have opinions. So if people don't like what I'm doing or what I'm saying, it's there. It's there. I mean, if I say something stupid, I'll own up to it. But if I am doing something I believe in, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know.
I see so many
and it's-
people post like so people, or this surprises me so much. People will just casually post some of the most like bigoted comments, like all over the internet. And sometimes like it's tied to their name and face, like comments on news articles and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, like Clyde Stevenson from Wisconsin. It's like, that's a pretty fucked up thing to say. Are you aware that now everyone in the world knows that you are like, you have that like horrible opinion, People will.
Well, it's like that's the thing. It's like, look, if you're a horrible person, someone will find out eventually.
Oh yeah, but like I think like people can change, and so, or yeah, people can change, and so like if you go back, at least like go if you go back to a comment and you see like, oh yeah, my opinion's changed, don't delete it. Just put in an edit. It's like, oh yeah, like my view has changed. Just let everyone know.
Even then, it's just if it's all in the context. The older you get, typically, the more just you understand what's good, what's bad, what's stupid.
I mean, I know some people that are older than us. I think that the technically or technologically illiterate is the worst people for this. So like the 30 and 40-year-olds who they were like past their formative years when the internet became big. Those are the people that are.
I think there are a good amount of people that also just don't understand what the hell the internet really is yet.
Yeah, it's way more open than people think. Yeah, I think our generation has like a good grasp on the effect of the internet. Did you listen to the Senate hearing for Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, oh my god.
The senators had the stupidest questions. They were clearly not prepared to ask like technical questions about Facebook. It was just like
a lot of them were just like, what the hell are you talking about?
There were a lot of free throws or like free shots like thrown at the Zuck. It's like, oh, those are so simple for him to answer. Like we basically learned nothing. I'm sure that there's going to be a more technical hearing, like with people in industry with the Zuck.
Didn't one of them say like, so you have a book of faces? I swear someone said that.
Oh, I didn't hear that one. But
is Twitter the same thing as what you do?
It's
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. Wait, Lindsey Graham said that?
Oh man.
Oh no. Lindsey, what are you doing? That's clearly not what.
If I'm emailing within WhatsApp, does that inform your advertisers?
Some messaging apps do that.
Hawaii Senator Brian Shaw. No, but I mean, you don't email in WhatsApp.
Oh, email. Okay, that's. I was gonna say like that's sort of like a relevant question because like, I think it came out that Facebook scraped your Facebook conversations, like your private DMs.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
What the Hawaii senator say?
He said if I'm emailing within WhatsApp, does that inform your advertisers?
Yeah, that's three separate things. Wait,
I get what he's saying, but it's like you don't email within WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a texting platform.
WhatsApp.
Emailing is a whole different thing.
Is WhatsApp tied to Facebook?
How do you is WhatsApp tied to Facebook?
Oh, WhatsApp is a Facebook subsidiary.
How do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
The users are the product. You're selling their information. That's the whole point with Google. Google's
also, I mean, not just that. I mean, you run ads. So.
Yeah, you run ads. Well, yeah, that's the selling the information.
This is a great one. What was Face Smash, and is it still up and running?
Face Smash.
That's a quote from The Social Network, which I'm sure that was an actual thing Zuckerberg did.
Face Smash pioneers. What is this?
Do you remember Face Smash?
No. Was that?
I mean, from like the movie The Social Network.
I didn't see that movie.
Damn, dude, it's such a good movie. You should have watched it.
I should watch it.
You should watch it. I totally recommend it. I thought it was really good. It's really fast. I remember going with a bunch of morons when I was like 13. I thought they were legit morons. And I understood it really well, but they didn't. They thought it was stupid. And I was like, I thought it was great. Like, it was really not intellectually stimulating, but it was at least interesting.
Yeah. I kind of like those like grittier looks at or like more real looks at real life things.
And I like that actor. What's his name?
I know who you're talking. He played Lex in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, he's good.
Starring Jesse Eisenberg. And Justin Timberlake. JT was in it. Oh
yeah.
On.
Oh man.
JT was in it.
Now I'll watch the movie.
Would you bring some fiber because we don't have connectivity?
That refers to Google Fiber or fiber optic networks.
Fiber optic networks.
That's a different industry. That's internet service providers. Which, funny enough, they that question would have been way more relevant like a couple months ago, with the whole like ISP debate, net neutrality. Anyway, what are some other
Oh,
questions?
Um, some of them are really good. My son is dedicated to Instagram, so he wants to be sure I mention him while I was on here with you.
Wait, did you plug his Instagram?
That loving parental plug came from Missouri Senator Roy Blunt. It was a useful reminder that Zuckerberg is the real star in this room of powerful elders.
Oh
And
man.
it wasn't the only one.
Yeah, yep. It's just so sad seeing people. Okay,
Fangirl.
I'm totally fine with people being technologically illiterate, right? As long as they try to learn. If you're technologically illiterate and you just refuse to learn, like about computers and stuff like that, and the internet, fuck you. Come on, get with the times.
What?
Honestly, like
Yes.
I've met some people that are like, oh, I just don't do computers. It's like, all right, Shannon, it's 2018. Computers
Well,
are
hold on,
here
dude.
to
Connor's
stay.
gonna be really upset, and so is Shannon. What the hell?
Oh, sorry. No. So for Shannon, I use Shannon. No, I use Shannon and Sharon for like my generic like
Just say
names.
what's an outdated name? Swaggart.
Swaggart.
That is a name.
Um,
It was in a baby name book. Baby names book.
Swaggart. From like what year?
I have no clue. Swagger. It's no the only vowels in it are A's. Huh, there's a minister named Jimmy Swaggart.
Swag. Minister Swag. Holy shit.
Minister Swag.
Old girl names. Okay, let me look this
Here's the
up.
last quote though. Did you know that the Motion Picture Association of America is having problems with piracy and this is challenging their existence?
Two completely unrelated things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus. Those are great. Those are some great ones. Mr. Zuckerberg, a magazine I recently opened came with a floppy disk offering me 30 free hours of something called America Online. Is that the same thing as Facebook?
Wait a minute. They got a floppy disk for
Yeah,
America
I don't even
Online.
know where a
For
floppy disk would be
minutes.
coming. A magazine I
No,
recently opened.
you remember those AOL discs with like 90 free minutes of dial-up internet. Do you remember those? I remember
Yeah,
we used to have like a shit ton of them. But then like
I remember floppy disks. What, you don't remember floppy disks?
Oh no, I remember floppy disks. I also remember that the AOL discs were CDs. So if she got like a floppy disk of that, what
How old is
magazine?
that?
Yeah, how old was this magazine? Did it like
Here's a good
crumble in
one.
your hands?
Mr. Zuckerberg, hypothetically, if someone's VCR won't stop flashing 1200, would you suggest they fix that?
12. They totally have a VCR that won't stop flashing 1200. First off,
man.
that's probably the clock, right? You can set that.
Yes, it is the clock, yes.
Yeah. And why are you asking Mark Zuckerberg? You know?
I mean, it's just like they think this guy knows everything about tech.
Oh man.
Uh,
That's another thing that I sort of forgive about people, but I still feel salty about it. It's like I'm studying engineering. Just because I'm studying engineering doesn't mean I know how to fix your computer. Like I think
yeah.
every person in the technical field can relate to that. You know, it's like okay, what's a new name? Okay, Bernadette. I'm studying aerospace engineering. I don't know what's wrong with your computer. Is it?
Dude,
I can probably fix it, right? By Googling your problems, but I don't know what's going on in the CPU and all that jazz.
Here's another great quote. These universified divisive pages are on Facebook today. And then I guess the senator gestured to printouts that he had. Are you able to confirm whether they are Russian-created groups, yes or no?
You
like, oh
You
man,
could so
another one.
Well, hold on. Wait,
Say,
let's address
okay.
that one because there are ways to. I mean, you can detect bots and stuff like that. Like there are a bunch of Twitter bots. There's surely a lot of Facebook like fake account bots or fake bot accounts. creating those pages. So that's a sort of legit question. But again, it's like if he's asking specifically about two groups, it's very unlikely that the Zucky, the Marquis would know like specifically about those two. The general question is fine, I guess. What were you gonna say?
Just this last one. It was, let's say I'm emailing about Black Panther within WhatsApp. Do I get a Black Panther banner ad? As in, like, it's happening right away.
Was that a mini promo for the movie? Let's say that I was about to watch the new hit movie.
No, I mean, that already happened.
No, that'd be hilarious if like a center was like,
oh, if that was a
super
way to
low key, not
advertise.
low key, like giving an ad plug.
Jeez, yeah, no, gosh, that's just funny. I think it's funny. Some people just don't. I mean, some people are just so old that it doesn't matter.
I think you should at least attempt to know about things.
Are you
It's
gonna
so
say
easy
that
to
to a
Google.
90-year-old that's in the hospital doing nothing?
Oh, if they're not doing anything, it's fine. If they're attempting to use technology and don't actively seek to use it to the best of their abilities, what are you doing? You know?
I mean, should they become coders in your opinion?
No, like not everyone has to become a coder. But let's say that you want to ride a motorcycle. Wouldn't you like want to know like, hey, what's the best way to ride a motorcycle? Or what's at least a good way to approach motorcycle riding? You know, you're not just gonna hop on a motorcycle, do everything completely wrong, and then say like, "Oh, I'm just not a motorcycle person." You know, it's like then why are you using a motorcycle?
Dude, this is a phenomenal tweet. So this girl Tom Guerra. Oh wait, a dude Tom Guerra.
This girl Tom.
Sorry, there were
All
two
right.
tweets. There was one on top.
I mean, she could have been a Tom girl.
This guy, he's like he has a quick picture of a graph of Facebook stock.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Facebook stock up 4.5% on news that America's run by people who still own VCRs.
Yeah. It's
fine if you own a VCR. I don't think it's a problem.
I mean,
I don't care.
It's also fine that the government is run by older people, just because like
Yes.
law like governance of a society or governance of a nation state, it should be very deliberate, you know, deliberate as in like takes a long time to make choices and stuff like that, and shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean that's how the government's set up, is to make it slow for anything to change.
Yeah, it should be hard to make nationwide changes. Like that's the point.
Yes.
If it was like as fast as like if turnaround time was like within a month, things would be like crazy. You know, it'd be so subject to the the emotional whims of the people. You know, presidential elections are every 4 years because opinions change like within like a week. You know, so yeah, so it's fine that old people are in government because it takes time to become familiar with the intricacies of government, and it takes time to properly do something. But society is moving faster than ever. Try to keep up.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's just, I mean, I think what we're saying here is, whatever you decide to do on the internet, you need to be as conscious as you can about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pretty much everybody who would be listening to this wouldn't have a problem. Or maybe, I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
They could be like, "Oh wow, really? So that guy just called about how my MacBook has a virus. I shouldn't be talking to that guy."
Yeah.
Connor.
Oh man. Oh man. Jeez.
Whew, sometimes people who do know tech still get it wrong.
Yeah. But I could make an entire podcast just about technological literacy, or
I remember
technology literacy.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that I won iPads.
Oh man, I remember like getting super hyped about being the millionth visitor. I was like, fuck yeah. I did that.
It's like, guys, no, just don't.
Yeah.
No. All right. How about we end it here? It's been about a minute.
It's about a minute. I mean, like my audio recording says it's been exactly 1 hour.
Boom.
So we gotta stop it in the next 7 seconds.
No.
No, yeah.
Well, hey guys, if you stuck this far and you liked what we talked about today, I mean, it was
It's,
pretty thorough, I guess, about
yeah, we could go deeper, but
privacy, finances. Well, I guess maybe not thorough.
it was a very current podcast. This is,
I think that's what tends to happen when it's just me and you. When we have someone who's new to the podcast or someone just outside of our perspective, we tend to like go into a different world.
Oh yeah.
And then obviously if it's me and you, we just stick to what's going on and probably learn something new. Honestly,
yeah, it's a good mix. So if you listen to the podcast with guests on it, I think they're pretty timeless, just because we ask about like people in general. But the OG cast podcasts are more timely. So yeah,
I'd say so.
So
yeah, well, hey, I mean, like I said, if you listen this far, I mean, there are 3 things you can do. Actually, there's probably an infinite amount of things you can do. You can, like, subscribe, share this. That shows us that you enjoyed it.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to share this on all social media platforms. Hit me up on SoundCloud. I do ASMR.
Don't forget to email about us in WhatsApp, and
also if anyone can tell me how to fix my VCR, that'd be great.
Well, hello, welcome to ASMR, and today we're gonna be fixing a VCR.
It's just like turning screws and stuff like that. The word of the film and stuff. It's like, oh, that's not that so bad. That's cool.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, you can do that. You can hate us forever and flag us and tell YouTube that we're pieces of crap.
Oh, please don't do that.
I would not trust Google ever again if for some reason they flagged us for being inappropriate.
Oh yeah, what?
It's like, really, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah, the system that'd clearly be like like suppression.
That'd be weird. Yes. And then you could just leave and just go away and just not care about any of it.
Yeah. This is the end of the podcast. Be neutral. You can just leave right now.
I mean, it's kind of weird if you did just leave right now. Yeah, I'm assuming if you stayed here, you enjoyed it.
I'm assuming, like, if you're listening to this, you have stayed here, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. And, you should hit all those buttons we talked about.
All the buttons. But well, unless you already hit those buttons. Then
what's going to happen on Friday the 13th, God, I
Friday
swear,
the 13th!
I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not doing that on purpose. It's
fantastic. I'm gonna tell everyone, just name your parties for today. Rename it to Friday the 13th.
Jesus. It's just like Tree Chucklers and how that came about. Except that was a little more intentional.
It was intentionally weird.
Yes. All right, well, you know what? Let's wrap this up. This has been Tree Chucklers episode 15.
15.
That means that's like half of 30.
Half of 30.
Which is half of an hour in
It is
minutes.
A product of 3 times 5. 3 and 5 are the second and third prime numbers. What is up with that? Oh,
Paul,
damn.
How do you know this?
I know it because I know numbers.
All right. Well, yeah. And we'll see you guys on the next one. If you do enjoy us, we do have a website. You can hit us up. The link's always in the description. And hey, if there's anything that we talked about here that you want to comment on, go ahead and throw your comments down there. We love all this interaction that we're getting. I mean, if you can see from our previous videos, there's so much interaction going on. It feels like I just can't keep up with it all.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay.
So, hey, we'll see you guys in the next one. All right, thank you so much.
Bye. Have a great day, everyone.